pray, read Quran. My Rizq's written, then I don't need to do this, and I need to search for something else. I couldn't basically be involved in something that was with still the sales of alcohol.
Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him. He is very well known within the hospitality industry.
Alhamdulillah, my dad expanded the restaurants and evolution of our community in the hospitality sector.
This individual I have been waiting to have on side by side for many months.
We're an alcohol-free venue because of, we're trying to advocate sober living.
What are the key lessons you've taken away from your father?
I think it's the work ethic, constantly trying to improve, trying to make something different.
How much have you lost? About $500,000?
After taking such a loss, the anxiety, the whole thing comes back in again.
How does it all make sense? How do you make sense in your mind?
As a human being, understanding that we have flaws, our own weaknesses, I'm not trying to pretend to be some angel. I'm far from being an angel. I'm trying.
Assalamu alaikum viewers and listeners, welcome back to another episode of Side by Side. I'm your host Kazi Shafiqur Rahman, and our today's episode is a special one. The owner and the founder of Coco Restaurants. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him, but this individual I have been waiting to have on Side by Side for many months. And finally, we have got him in our studio in East London. He's recently launched his Coco Restaurants in Dubai. He is very well known within the hospitality industry, and I cannot wait to share this conversation with you today. But before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, supporters and well-wishers, as always, please do consider subscribing to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. It is your subscription that motivates me and the team here at Side by Side to continue with our episodes after episodes. And with that said, let's get straight into the show. This episode has been sponsored by Tap Send. Assalamu alaikum, Naz bhai. Thank you so much for making the time for our viewers and audience on Side by Side. You're not a very easy man to get hold of. There's so much that we're going to talk about, and I'm so excited to have you in our studio. You don't make any public appearances, and I feel our viewers and listeners are really fortunate, as well as I am, to have you here with us.
No, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's an honor to be here. As we just mentioned, I've been watching the growth of the show, and your confidence and your delivery looks amazing. So it's a real honor, and to be able to, whilst I'm here in the UK for a couple of weeks, to be able to fit this in is fantastic.
MashaAllah. You're looking good. You're looking fresh. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. So you grew up in Oxford. Were you born and brought up in Oxford?
I was born in South London. And then we moved. My father opened a lot of restaurants. So both my grandparents were in the restaurant. From the parents, grandfather, were in the restaurant business. So my dada had restaurants in Earls Court, and my nana had restaurants in West London.
Okay.
So then my father went into the restaurant business, and then we moved as the restaurants grew, from London to Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire. And he continued growing them. So he grew a chain of about 23 restaurants. So that's where I learnt the trade, just watching. We grew up with this. So we started living in staff quarters in one room above a restaurant.
Well, you too. You also live.
Yeah. Okay. So my earliest memories are basically living above a restaurant and staff. It's a staff quarters. So we were told as kids, we couldn't run around too much because the customers are downstairs. They could hear everything, so to avoid running around. And then from there, alhamdulillah, my dad expanded the restaurants and he moved out, we bought a house and went from there. He did really well.
And what year are we talking?
This is early 80s.
And how old were you that time?
I
don't want to expose, we're roughly, broadly, were you in your under 10? Were you under 10?
No, I mean, early 80s, I was very, very, very young child.
Okay.
I was a child. And then it quickly grew from there, to as he opened more restaurants and seeing that whole growth and hustle of opening them. And the early generation, why I'm, so grateful to them, especially for my father, because I learned so much from him about the trade and in business in general.
MashaAllah. Well, he definitely has produced something that's I would say from what I see on social media and being in your place is quite remarkable. What you've done, and that has happened quite quickly. It wasn't. I suppose we will get to it in a bit. But Coco, the whole Coco brand, from Tower Bridge to now Dubai, it's a short time frame how you've managed to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
So what would you say? What are the key lessons you've taken away from your father? Like, if you were to quantify them, 1, 2, 3, like these are the fundamental principles and lessons that I've taken away that I apply today.
I think there's a work ethic, constantly looking at sites, constantly trying to improve, trying to make something different. That period of time where they were growing the businesses back then was completely different to now. You can't do the same thing now. So looking at the evolution of our community in the hospitality sector, they obviously paved the way for us to now make something a bit more unique. And this is what I always wanted to do in terms of staying in the hospitality sector. I moved away from the hospitality sector for a long time because after some time I couldn't basically be involved in something that was with still the sales of alcohol. I mean, I'm not judging anyone. I'm not saying, anything, but my family obviously came from that. But I personally couldn't continue doing that in my early 20s. So I stopped. And my family thought I was, they didn't know what happened to me. So they probably thought.
What happened to you? How did you,
What was the reason?
Yeah.
I think it was just, the 90s were a time period when our community, and I'm say my generation, our generation, who'd been born and raised in the UK, who didn't have older siblings or cousins to maybe guide us. We went a completely in a different way of living, and certain things that just makes you brings you back to religion and makes you understand. And there's a hypocrisy that I just didn't understand about pray, read Quran, fast, but then in the weekend, if we're working, then we're still pouring the pints and making the drinks. So it just came to me that I didn't want to do this anymore. And I think fundamentally it was the fact that Rizq was written. I said, if my Rizq's written, then I don't need to do this. And I need to search for something else. Alhamdulillah, it was at a quite early age that this kind of thought pattern covered out. Allah put that in there, alhamdulillah.
Many people go to Hajj, many people go to Umrah, and then they have a complete U-turn to their life. Is that something that happened to you, or it was just a kind of self-reflection?
No, I think going back to my youth, I was a troublesome child. I had a really good upbringing, alhamdulillah. Both parents amazing. We had an amazing childhood, but I was a troublesome child and was involved in all sorts of things that teenagers get involved in, and ended up in a young offenders institution at the age of 17 due to fighting and etc. And then I came out of a young offenders institution just before my 21st birthday. So I spent a large chunk of that youth in there. And alhamdulillah, it was probably the best thing that happened to me. At the time you don't realize that, probably the worst things that you're going through right now, many people are probably going through many terrible situations. But Allah puts you through these situations. Later on, you realize that it's a blessing. But at that time, I thought it's a bottom, because I'd let my family down, people were talking, etc., etc. And then you think, okay, so what am I going to become now? After coming out of a young offenders institution, I spent a large chunk of my formative years. Where am I going to go here from now? And what happened in that solitude, you meet other brothers who are also finding themselves, who are also been in, really, really problematic backgrounds and whatnot. And you grow with them, and then Allah just bless you. I found religion there. I decided to understand the Quran. It wasn't just about read the Arabic Quran. It was about, okay, let's see what the translation is actually saying and what the meaning of this is. It was just previously recite Quran, Arabic, do the motions of prayer, but there was no heart to it. Alhamdulillah, it was there that grew. And that's from there that I came out, and then, started, continued on with education, went to university, and was working part-time in the restaurants. And that's where the conflicting ideas is coming to my head. Like, it was Ramadan, and one of the uncles who was there, he was saying to me, okay, it's time for iftar. But at the same time, you're going to pour the 8 pints. That discussed at once. So and that night was the night where I said, no,
My dad's been on my case for the last week. I need to send him money in Bangladesh.
So what's stopping you, bro?
Bro, it's long. The queues are endless. And have you seen where they're located? Red routes, nowhere to park. Nah, man.
Why don't you use what I use?
What do you use?
Basically, it's this app that I use. It's called Tap Tap Send. And bro, it's a game changer. I don't have to go to these money transfer shops. I don't have to wait in the queues and I don't have to get parking fine. It's all on my phone. And I can use my card to send money back home instantly.
So what's the catch?
There is no catch. In fact, it's quite the opposite. No hidden fees, no transfer fees, and on top, if you use the KSR code, you get £20 credit.
Say no more. £20, yeah? I'm gonna download the app right now. My dad's gonna love me for this.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Problem solved. Now let's get inside. We've got a killer episode to record. What did you study in university?
Business management.
Hospitality, business management. Do you think your education and your experience really kind of, cross paths along the way, which I suppose for which we can see the results now? Is that because of your education, or would you say what you've learned in university doesn't really,
I think it definitely helped. It definitely broadened the scope of what you can achieve and what's out there, looking at larger companies, studying them, how they operate, their thinking. As a child, I was always entrepreneurial. So I was, the child that was selling things to my friends and, washing cars, and my father would tell me, what are you doing? Yeah? If you need money, I always felt that I wanted my own money. So that was in my DNA, and I would always be looking for things to do to make money out of. So I think combining that, and business was the only thing I was interested in. I wasn't interested in anything else. Like in school, I wasn't interested. I couldn't, make sense of what Latin would help me in, or with, different subjects. But business, as soon as I found business, it was a passion that, I could study and enjoy, which continues on today. I'm still learning that. I love reading biographies of successful business people and understanding their thinking, where they made mistakes, and then trying to combine it into my own journey, to reflect from them and then go on to that with my own thing.
It seems like your curiosity or your inquisitiveness really drives you forward. Is that what it is? You're quite curious. You just like to analyze things and, just step back and say, oh, how does this work?
Yeah, I think it's partly that, and partly understanding that this journey of life has so many different variables, and you just don't know. And you're trying to combine your experiences of what Allah's put in front of you and how you can, come up with a business concept within the constraints and boundaries of the religion and making it successful. Because obviously it wasn't just business. You could go into anything. Initially, when I was younger, I always wanted to have, bars and nightclubs and all this stuff. But then when religion, you understand, and the boundaries of religion comes along, you think, okay, so first of all, let's see the boundaries, then what we can work with that. And that's where the journey really started from. And understanding, going back to, again, and reaffirming that Rizq is written, that you're not going to get a penny more or less than what is written for you. And then establishing, okay, so what sort of businesses can we do? And then just making the intention, doing istikhara, finding the side, is this right for me? Is this not right for me? It's along that always.
Couple of things, and I'm thankful that you've shared your perhaps most personal story. Maybe you haven't really spoken about it, the idea of the offenders institution and stuff. I'm grateful that you are sharing it, and because I think our audience will appreciate this genuineness and authenticity, because it's not easy to talk about your past and talk about things that you may or may not be at least proud of while in public or talking about it in public. So thank you for that. You talk about, and you might hate me for asking me this, you talk about religious constraints and all sorts. Obviously, Coco is very, mashallah, very, very glamorous, very glamorous. On some of the launches, you use some might call haram promotional activities like women dancing, music.
Yeah.
And again, this is again, I don't judge. I'm not here to say why you're doing this, but some might questions, oh, what? But how does it all make sense? How do you make sense in your mind?
I think it's an opening, it's a marketing event. We're not marketing the venues as just a strictly halal Muslim-only venue. It's marketed as advocates of sober living. So we're trying to make it inclusive. We understand we're in the United Kingdom, we're in the West. As it's marketed as we're advocates of sober living for people who are trying to give up alcohol, as opposed to we're a halal alcohol-free venue. We're an alcohol-free venue because of, we're trying to advocate sober living. So we have to be inclusive in all of that. Whether it's, so the marketing is there in the initial part, the opening grad parties is there for just the marketing aspects of it. After that, we're not having any belly dances or anything like that. It's just also to understand that, we're not just a Muslim-only venue.
So you want to make sure that, no, I get your point, because and again, I'm not justifying, but sometimes you have to lend that hand or put the hand forward to invite people in.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult, and I think you do marketing quite well, to really communicate, what you're about without alienating one or the other.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? Obviously, you said it's only during the launch parties you do whatever you do.
Yeah.
For your marketing activities, and you don't do it afterwards. If Rizq is written, then how do we and I'm talking purely for me, from my perspective now, how do we still balance the two? How do we still market to the wider society as well as still maintain?
I think as a human being, understanding that we have flaws, our own weaknesses, and that I'm not trying to pretend to be some angel. I'm far from being an angel, but I'm trying. I'm making the effort within my abilities to do whatever I can do. And also, say for instance, in terms of mentioning going into young offenders at a young age, is to also maybe to hit, say, the youth out there who may be listening, who are maybe going through problems on the streets and doing whatever. We know that there's a lot of problems in London streets, that there are other routes, and to stay away from drugs, to stay away from going out, to stay from the streets, and to study, to go to gym, to go to mosque, the companions that you have with you, pushing that. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. I'm still learning. And so any of this kind of stuff is like, oh, you're going down the religious route. I'm not perfect. I'm not pretending to be perfect. I'm doing whatever I can do within my own means and learning on my own journey. So I advise people to concentrate on themselves, concentrate on their own journeys. I'm doing my own journey.
Thank you. No, that was a point that I just wanted to, put it out there and then clarify for my own purpose, because again, I just wanted to make sure that the viewers understand that why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Some might say, oh, but this, but that, but this, but that. Now, some might say shisha is harmful.
Yeah.
How do you now, again, reason with that idea? Like, okay, alcohol is obviously haram, completely point blank haram. Shisha, I don't know where we stand in terms of religious point of view, but personally, I wouldn't advocate it. But if I want to have a shisha, I'm gonna go down to your place later in the evening anyway. I've got a meeting lined up with my brother.
Okay.
But how do you I'm sure you face criticism. Oh, why are you doing shisha for? It's harmful for your health.
People have mentioned it that people have gone to the state of saying it's haram. What is actually makruh? If I thought it was haram, I wouldn't do it. I find it that it can be harmful if you do it. I think everything in moderation. If you eat too much fast food, it's harmful for you. If you drink too much water, you can die. I think
Good one.
If you do too much of it, of course. And cigarettes, if you smoke too much cigarettes, it's harmful. You shouldn't smoke cigarettes anyway. Shisha is a social thing. We look at the origin of it. It was a social aspect. So the whole thing was, you're not coming there to smoke it 4 or 5 a day. Yeah,
It's still possible to have 4 or 5 shishas a day. I mean, after a few puffs, like I start, like my head starts spinning as well.
yeah.
So no, it is, as you said, it is a social experience, and I think it really does bring the social element out of people. Like,
No, I think, like going back to university again, Edgware Road, where I found that this whole Middle Eastern culture of shisha, I didn't know it was as big as it was, and I didn't understand the reason why people were doing this. But my youth friends would meet up in Edgware Road. I lived in Edgware Road, and every night we'd go down to the shisha place, and I was thinking, what's the point of this flavored smoke this that everyone's doing? And I just saw it as a business, like it's packed, and then I just I started was involved in recruitment and in properties in Dubai from, to say, 2004 after university, and from when they allowed foreigners to buy properties from 2004 2008 when it all collapsed. But I understood that Middle Eastern culture. They were that shisha and food and socializing, watching a football match, having a seat, shisha, etc., etc. So I came back and continued and looked for a place and understood, okay, this is perfect. If I could replace the alcohol element, go back to hospitality now, and what I could, the sales of the shisha would take over the alcohol. I don't need to. And that's when I went back to hospitality, 2009, Oxford. And it was funny because I found a site after Jummah. I just thought, let me just have a look, just drive around. And I'd sometimes just drive around, give my card out. So if you ever think of selling a place, that day I just drove around, found a site in a predominantly student area. It's called Cowley, and left my card there. And they said, oh, we're moving out on the Monday. You can come and speak to the landlord. It's a brewery. I went back on the Monday. They said, yeah, you could rent it out, but you just sell our beer. So I said, I'm not going to be selling beer. He said, well, then you can't take it. I said, all right, then if you sell the freehold, then let me know. But no, we're not interested in selling it. That's a financial crisis. So the pubs.
that's the Oxford site you took.
Yeah, Oxford site. But then they came back about 3-4 weeks later. Okay, we'll sell the freehold. Alhamdulillah, that was the start of all of that. And that was the journey. That was where the journey started. That was in terms of, as a venue, my own Halal Temple Lounge in Oxford was the first one and the most hardest one.
So up until 2008?
Yeah.
You were a property investor. You were buying and
selling. And in 2008, when the crash happened in Dubai, I lost a lot of money out in Dubai. Yeah, because it was a growth from 2004 to 2008, and then everything collapsed.
Tune of what, roughly? How much have you lost?
Yeah, I'm a little good, but it was millions. It was substantial amount, because a lot of people in a few years built up a lot in those years because it was just like a gold rush in Dubai, and it was a time then, if you remember, people were talking about they left their cars and fled because they'd given check. At that time in Dubai, if you'd written a check, you'd get arrested if you bounced, which is no longer the case anymore.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Because we were looking at some sites in Dubai, and then they said, oh, you have to give a check of 4 signed checks, that has to clear through, and if it doesn't, then you're in deep trouble.
When was that?
That was probably 4 years ago. I don't know, well, probably more.
Yeah, maybe. Now the check is like UK piece of paper.
Okay. So Temple Lounge is when you first, I guess, came back to the food scene or hospitality sector. Now we've got the lease, the freehold, you got the key.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Where do you go from there? How do you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do with that place? How do you decide on the business case?
Looking at the site itself, had a nice beer garden. So I was like, this is where we're going to put the terrace for the shisha. The indoor venue will make it as a restaurant. And it was making the concept from that site and utilizing all the elements in terms of the kitchen. Already the kitchen, we need to make it larger. We've got some staff accommodation. And with the site came some space in the back, which is a car park, which I thought, okay, I'm going to put planning application for some property there later. And there was that. And there was a very small budget to work on because buying the freehold had taken a lot of money. And it was really difficult. Yeah. It was at that time, it was do or die. It was like, either this succeeds or I'm going completely.
Why so completely? People think guys who are in property, they always have some sort of a, safety net to fall back on?
Okay, I mean, we'd bought some other freehold properties just prior to that, since 2009. So with deplete, it was like we're doing developments. Obviously, lost a lot of money in Dubai, came back, and then wanted to do something in the hospitality sector that it took a lot out. And you have to concentrate on exactly what you're doing. Now, it's the first time I was doing a Lebanese restaurant. All my experiences in Indian, I've never done Lebanese. I walked around Edgware Road looking for a Lebanese chef. I didn't know how to do shisha. I walked around again trying to find shisha guys. And it was just like, I just walked around Edgware Road, I found a chef and just worked like that. Just that was the way that was started.
Yeah, as simple as I go around and I say, you come and work for my restaurant.
Yeah, that was it. So some people just don't want to do that, or they won't do it.
But did you know, like, okay, when the chef makes something, obviously in this country, or even in Dubai, food safety is a big thing, massive deal. And, you know, when you're combining different recipes and different sauces, as an owner, like, obviously you have to be comfortable as well. Okay, this is not going to give someone a bellyache or something. How did you make sure that whatever the chef was producing, it was actually fit for consumption?
Obviously, that's, say for instance, the chef, I'd look at his background, where you've worked, how long experience, and see what his previous rating would have been in the kitchen, so that they understand, because that's something that's critical. That you can't afford any kind of issues like that to the patrons of the venue. I mean, anybody can do that. You just have to know that, you make sure that it's replicated, it's clean. Because, you know, soon after you open the kitchen, the health and hygiene is going to come along. They're going to check. And I think after that, they come up with this 5-star rating system, whatnot. So, and then the advice and booklet they give. So we try to maintain all of that. Obviously, now there's apps that you have to maintain, that we just tick, you know, every single day what you're doing. Is it all cleaned up? Making sure. So it's a lot easier now than before.
So did you eventually, you found a chef and the founder shisha guy, what was he, Lebanese or what?
Lebanese chef, yeah. He was a Lebanese chef from Edgware Road. He was with me only up until he left and retired just last year.
Oh, long time.
Okay, so he's been in Oxford for a long time. Then he was in Temple Lounge, Canary Wharf, and he stayed when that converted to Coco. He stayed with us. I think a lot of it is, and I'm really fortunate that people that I've met along the way who've stayed with me for such long periods of time, it's like an extended family. And so it was...
How do you retain those people? I mean, surely it can't be just them staying with you, because you also have to be in a certain way for them to be able to stay with you. Because I feel like when it comes to employment, it's a 50-50, like, you know, split. Like, you know, many people nowadays complain, oh, toxic, this is toxic, that is toxic. But I'm like, what are you doing to make the employer's life easy rather than making it hard for him? So surely, as a boss or as an entrepreneur, you had to make an environment where they wanted to stay.
Yeah, so obviously not everyone stayed. There was a lot of cutting and getting that team right took a long time. But then when you find the right team, understand that we're on the same page, it's mutual respect. You respect, you know, we're earning our livelihoods from this. You're feeding your families as well as I'm feeding my families from this business. We have to respect the business. When you find people who understand that and respect that, then we can work, you know, because you have to really take that. If you're here for a short time, of course you can go and find a job somewhere else, and of course I can find somebody else who's going to be able to take that spot as well. But at the end of the day, we're going to be doing the same thing somewhere else. But let's try to work together, you know, and try and then you understand what I'm like, I understand what you're like,
Yeah.
and I'm there for you if you have any problems. And that trust and relationship built over time. And it's extended family. They become extended families, like, you know.
One thing I've noticed about Coco in particular, everything is very meticulous. Now, you can invest £1 million, £2 million in a place, and within maybe a few months, it can turn into, I don't know, something else. But your maintenance, and from staff uniform to the cleanliness of the shirts, I mean, I observe these things, you know. Even when I went to Coco last time in Wolf, I was looking at the guy's shirt. I was like, okay, it's proper ironed, crisp. How do you maintain this culture? Because some might say, you know what, like, this is too much.
I think it's just staying to, as a team, and just getting through to them and understanding that we're not going to be one of those places that does that, that after some time we start looking like this or start relaxing. Now, there's no relaxation. We're in the hospitality, so it's like theatre. A customer could order food to their home in the comfort of their house, eat very nicely. Now, why are they making the effort to come to us? They want to be treated like kings and queens. They don't want to see unhappy faces. They don't want to see, we've created a venue, aesthetically very beautiful, fantastic location, providing very good food. Now, if we slowly start, going backwards, we're losing our edge. And everyone gets what we're trying to create. We're trying to create a brand, trying to make it grow, and the team really gets that. So it's working on that. If anybody falls back on that, is realigning. Listen, this is what we're doing again, and then making sure that we don't.
Do you feel like when people see that you as an owner, you've invested so much capital into a certain place, do you feel like the staff look at that and say, you know what, like, I'm not going to mess around with this place because this man has spent so much money in building this place the way he has. They automatically want to also respect the venue or something.
I don't know if it's got to do with the level of investment. I think it's to do with, it's just making the team understand what we want to achieve, that everyone's coming from that hospitality sector. You don't want to, you're working with something that can grow. People know us. Even the guys will say, people know us as a part of the Coco team. They know where we are. A lot of different people, famous people are coming, seeing. So it's an interesting venue to work at. It's fun, it's enjoyable. Obviously there's conflict, obviously there's issues, like in any business. We try to resolve them. Initially we had loads. I'd be conflict resolution between the teams, there'd be huge issues. And so we would sometimes be 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, just calming the people down. That's,
Wow. Is that Temple Lounge days or even after Coco?
Oh, even after Coco. It continues because imagine in each venue you've got 50, 60, 65 people. There's going to be people who don't get on, or there's conflict or something. So it's administering that and realigning that. Our aim is the same. We have to work together. Like sometimes you've got different sections. You've got kitchen, you've got reception team, you've got front of house team, you've got a bar team. Now, sometimes they become like their own groups. Then
Yes.
we're in one team. So it's just combining that and understanding that, our aim is to serve the guests to the best of our abilities and to leave them happy, just to leave they leave our venue, come and talk about us, and we can't have any conflict.
How do you balance between cost control and quality control? Because obviously your business is based on people. Like, people are delivering your product, which is the experience, the theater, the food. All of that is through human beings and people. But then again, you also look at the cost control element, because one thing I've learned a very hard way through Buddy's venture, the fast food restaurant, I'm like, okay, where are we going wrong? And then eventually we done a P&L, which we should have done right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, we know where the culprit is now. It's the staff cost. Like, that was really sucking us dry. So how in your business, obviously, it feels like almost like a 5-star, 6-star hotel lobby when you go into a Coco.
Thank you.
How do you maintain the balance? Or is it because you just have to put the price up, or like, how do you position it?
Price, obviously, we looked at the market and understood, okay, this is our price range that we've got to work with. I think the first thing I did was to get a consultant who deals with that level of restaurant, because I wasn't, at that level myself. And that was where we learnt a lot about in terms of staffing. And initially when they said to me that, you're going to probably need about 45 staff, I was like, are you crazy? Because we're used to, when I wasn't previously in restaurants, maybe 6 people in the kitchen, maybe 7 people in the front, 12, 13 people. Now this Italian consultant, Chef Mauricio, he did the whole analysis and profit and loss and staffing and this, that, the other venue, section by section. And he said to me, 45 people. And now we're, in that same venue, 60, 65 people. But that 45 people, I nearly had a heart attack. I was about to fall off the seat. I was thinking, the wages bill, like, how on earth is that going to get paid? Because going back to Oxford, or after all that hard work of opening the venue, and for the first 3 or 4 months, it's not busy. You know, I'm having to get money to pay wages. So you're thinking like, have I done, the right thing here? Because I put so much time, effort, money into all of this, and it's not working. I'd have staff sitting on we had a small terrace in the front. I said, listen, you guys sit in the front, pretend you're just some customers, because maybe that will bring other people in if they see other people sitting out there. After, alhamdulillah, when it started coming, then alhamdulillah, it was amazing. Just by those 3-4 months, it was a very, very testing time.
So 45 people, and you almost had a heart attack. You almost fell off your chair when the consultant said, and then now you're operating at around for 65 people in a location. I'm assuming Tower Bridge.
Yeah, well, with all part-timers and security and all of this stuff. Yeah, which
I've had a traumatic experience through parties as well. Like, now I don't know if I've done the right thing. Am I okay? I know the location is poor, location is bad, because in our every business, location is key. Like even in Sunnah Masjid, we would speak to the landlord and say, listen, don't show us any like corner sites and dead sites. We want the premium one. We'll pay the premium. We'll pay the price, and we know we will make the money back.
Yeah.
But with this one, I don't know if you remember, A3 permission and all of that stuff,
No.
and then they changed it around in lockdown time, and they made it into Class E, and then we thought, yeah, we hit a gold mine. Like, we got the A3 license, and it's a shell and core, and we're gonna do it the way we want to. And then all of a sudden it's Class E, and anyone can do a restaurant as long as they approve. So I'm literally in that phase, like the traumatic phase. Okay, now do I go forward, or do I go backward, or do I just just stay where I am and just maybe sell the business to someone else? What would you have done, or what would you do in such a situation? You don't know that you've got a traumatic experience. You're just used to losses.
with Oxford, I knew that the location was good. There's a lot of busy. It's a busy place. So the confidence was that initially you don't know why it's not working. You're just asking yourself. I think Allah tests you with that, the anxiety. The whispers. Have I done this right? Am I doing it? And at that age, I was sleepless. I couldn't understand why it's not working. I'd pray a lot. Please make this work. And alhamdulillah, it worked. But I think in between these years, I took the country rights for a fast food concept from Dubai to UK called Doner and Gyros, which didn't work for me. We had a site in Buckinghamshire, one in Canary Wharf, and it didn't work. And obviously spent money on it and time and effort and whatnot. And the plans were to roll these out and open 4 or 5 outlets and then franchise them. So that was the whole. But then the franchisor of Dubai, they were stipulated that we have to buy the sauces from Oman. So we're bringing containers, half empty containers of just some sauce, which we can make in-house. And I just decided, no, I'm not going to continue with this. Still, it just wasn't working. That, obviously, that money, time that went into that was a complete loss. I think, with any loss, I've learned many lessons about franchising. And if I was to do something myself, rather than become a franchisee, because even though I took the country license and I could sell rights to Scotland and Ireland and whatnot, it was a competitor at that time to say GDK, and but they just didn't follow through with with where they started. They expanded to Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I think they're in America, Canada. I think somebody also took Bangladesh. That also they decided for some reason, which was a fast food concept, where then did a 5,000 square foot unit with like children's play area and whatnot there as well, which
Wow.
So yeah, it's a learning curve. I think if the location's not right, and the location's not right, then it's there to, find somewhere else that is. Maybe not give up the concept, but you obviously the experiences that you've gained from it, you know how it works.
Yeah.
So you can do it somewhere.
Well, now I know. Now I know, like, where exactly, like, what's happening where, which part of the business needs focus, attention. Okay, we needed marketing, so we reactivated the marketing. We weren't doing any marketing.
Yeah.
The staff cost was going through the roof. We brought it under control. Like, we allocated hours for the trade, as opposed to before, like, okay, you know what, this is the budget, and spend that money. Like, no, control the hours, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
But I think we're at that crossroad now with buddies. Like, okay, Do we go forward? Do we go backwards? But Alhamdulillah, I'm so proud that I'm saying this. Like, it shouldn't even be like an achievement, but like we've stopped bleeding. We don't lose money.
Alhamdulillah.
Where we were losing like so much money, now we don't lose money. So we're progressing. We're on our way out. And now it's just a case of like, where do we go from here? Like, do we carry on? Because I would never ever franchise Buddies, because that was the plan, while not proving this one that it works and all the nuts and bolts are working and it's all well-oiled engine.
Absolutely.
No, I would not want someone else to come into this mess. So we're working on it. But look, like you said, you can't see like, mistakes. When you see mistakes, like some people will cry over it, but I think like yourself and me as well, to a very extent, like I can't see negativity in my failures. Like, okay, I've learned this, I've learned that, I've learned this, I've learned that. Like, how is it a failure?
Exactly. That's it. As long as you look at it like that, that's the main thing. As a lesson, even with all this experience in hospitality and choosing locations and having sites, I decided to do a place in Saudi Arabia. Before Dubai, the Saudi Arabia project was supposed to be open 2023. I spent most of 2023 in Riyadh. Most of the works were done, and then I had a local partner who I'm in litigation with because she basically messed it all up. So all that time, effort, money,
No,
it was 70% complete. I sent furniture from Turkey. I sent the shisha from Russia. The site was almost ready. The contractors, but I was sending money from here, and she wasn't paying the contractors. So all that madness. So again, I went through. I did istikhara before I did that place. Went to proceed to do it. I always think like Allah wanted me for some reason to do it. And I believe there's khair and there's goodness that will come out of this lesson at some point of time. So I'll just have to wait and see. But it's a big loss. It was in monetary terms, but I still believe that there's some goodness from it that will come at a later date. And I don't know why this happened right now, but later on it will reveal itself.
Hey guys, I hope you have been enjoying today's episode of Side by Side with myself as your host Kazi Shafiqur Rahman and our guest Naz Choudry, the founder and CEO of Coco Restaurants. I have been, as you can see, thoroughly enjoying this conversation. I have learned so much from Brother Naz, and I hope you have too. If you have, please do share this episode around with friends and family and anyone that you may think will benefit. And with that said, let's get straight back into the show. How much have we lost? $500,000?
No, more than that. It was it was a lot of effort put in there. But Riyadh was supposed to be the new place, new thing, and it's just unfortunate. I'd love to go back and
Is the premise that you've developed 70% off, is that still at 70% or it's been broken to something else? Or
no, the landlord took that back. Landlord took it all back and the sites on.
Oh wow, that's mashallah. Like, I say mashallah, but some people might think this guy's crazy. But I say mashallah because I know what I'm talking about. You got some serious, like, mashallah, like, what's that word? I don't want to say the word. Like in the slang, we'll say balls. Like, mashallah, like, you're brave.
Alhamdulillah, it's again just understanding that there's a reason why Allah, why this happened. I don't know why it happened right now, even to the at this present time. But I truly believe that there's khairs going to come out of this in the future. And that's again, when doing Dubai was, I'd go back to the emotions of how I did Oxford. The pressure. This site is 17,000 square feet. It's 3 times the size of any of the venues that I have now. And with that, it means it's 3 times the cost.
17,000 square feet. Like, that's like a big hotel or something. Like, the whole, we have got warehouses probably like 15,000 square feet. So this is massive.
So and doing that after taking such a loss, it was like, the anxiety, the whole thing comes back in again. And then, I'm doing istikhara, like, I don't want to be, I don't want to go through all that over again. But the continuation, that journey, the istikhara, and just believing and just pushing it through. When you started the process and there's no going back, you know. And that's at some stage I was like, why have I done this? Because I was living, you know, I was comfortable, I'm away from the family, kids are in different countries, everything's in a mishmash, but I can't go back now. I have to finish this project. The whole last 18 months is basically dealing with all of this.
Do you sometimes push yourself to uncomfortable situations? You know, like, you know, I'm going to push myself and then I'm going to worry about how I'm going to do it later. Or because I tend to do that sometimes, where I would apply pressure on me on purpose, so I don't have an escape plan. Like, and I have to get it done, and the only way is to get it done.
As an entrepreneur yourself, you know, some things, you know, like I know that you did an airline, and doing these kind of things, and our mentality is not, we're not wired like everyone, because you learn as it's like jumping off a cliff, and you have to figure out, how am I going to fly whilst I'm falling?
Yeah.
But believing at the same time that, no, I can fly.
Yeah, it's a very crazy mentality. It's hard to explain, because recently I was speaking to someone, and I know, like, you know, I talk a lot. I shouldn't be talking. I should be allowing my guests to speak, but I just can't relate to everything that you're saying so much. Recently, someone said, "Oh, then you should just close it. Like, close this place. Like, you know, that's it."
Yeah.
I said, "But this, but that, but this. Like, all these, like, not everything is addressed on a piece of paper. Like, this." Like, sometimes entrepreneurs, you're using your intuition, sometimes you're using your gut, sometimes it's a combination of so many different things, and you kind of ultimately come with a decision, and then you stick by that decision. So it's not so easy to just close a place. Okay, if it's losing money, like, you know, day in, day out, then obviously there is no way you should continue. But sometimes it's a very hard thing to explain to people. Like, why do you do it? Like, if it's so hard, then why do you do it? One of them ones.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think when you have a business that's struggling, not making money, and you're constantly having to put money into it, it's when is the line, it's okay, enough.
Yeah.
No, that's enough. And it's understanding that, okay, I've tried, and I have to basically sell this place or turn it into something else.
You know, for me, the aviation venture for Naz, like, you know, for me, it was a very hard thing to let go, because, like, you know, when you put your heart and soul and everything, whatever your wife is earning, the whole family income, like, it's like everything is going out towards one direction. And then when lockdown comes and tells you, like, oh, well, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to shut it. And it was such a difficult thing to accept, you know, such a difficult thing to accept. But alhamdulillah, reluctantly, I done istikhara, and we've had to just say, you know what, like, this is it. You know, this is probably the end of chapter for now. Maybe until many years later, hopefully, when I have too much money to, you know, have fun with, because at that time I was just, you know, bootstrapping everything.
I think, look, from our community, for someone to go and do that, you know, the audacity of going and opening an airline, you know, that should open eyes to that youth who thinks, you know, there's limits. There are no limits. You know, you can, if Allah wills, and if you really make niyat and ask Allah, to open the doors for you to do this, you can do anything. What's his name, Richard Branson, he went and opened Virgin with one airline, marketed it like it's competing against British Airways with one plane, and it's grown to, you know, amazing things. And from our community, for someone to go and do that, I think showcases and highlights that in whatever sector, you know, you can go and do things. And I think obviously for yourself, it should be that I still did it. Hey, I went and did this, so I could really go and do in other sectors, other areas that there's a gap in the market for this or that sector.
You know, I combine, like, lessons from each industries. Like, you know, what I've learned with the F&B hospitality is, like, it's like, you know, like, looking at the P&L and counting the pennies. Like, you know, everything has to line up.
Yeah.
With, like, maybe fragrance business, you know, it's not, you wouldn't be too worried, because mashallah, you've got a good margin to work with.
Yeah.
Or with food, like,
with fast
food in particular, like, you're going down. If he's going to go down, he's going to go down fast. So
yeah.
I mix and match my lessons. What I've learned from aviation, I try and apply in retail. Like, this discipline works so well in aviation. Why can't it work in retail? Why hasn't the retail industry caught up with it yet? So yeah, I combine my lessons. And honestly, if someone said, like, you know, would you do it again? Yeah, I probably would do it again, but I would be a lot more cautious. Not cautious, but a lot more planned, a lot more strategic. But look, this is not a show about me. This is definitely a show about you. And I'm having such a wonderful. I mean, we've never met. This is the first time we're actually meeting.
Yes.
You're a charitable man as well. You go on deployments to countries like Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your experiences in deployment, because I too have been to deployments, and I think it's a journey of a lifetime, those deployments.
So I'm an ambassador for a charity called CAP Foundation, and we've been to when the earthquakes happened in Turkey, went there. We've gone to Palestine and Gaza with the founder of the CAP Foundation, and obviously in Bangladesh we're doing a project called Orphan Village. I think ultimately to be able to give back and to do projects like this is the real motivational aspect now, because after some time you can go out, you can go on holidays, you can, get in that work-life balance. But I think the charity work is the thing, and understanding globally what's happening to our Ummah and how we're being treated globally right now, and almost like the back stance that we're on because of the financial situation that we find that the people against us are on. I think those are the things that as a community, if we don't concentrate and in uplifting one another like they have done, and in such a short period of time, they support each other, whereas we don't. We don't. If we find an alternative, cheaper option, whereas they will, even if the option is more expensive, they will buy from one another. We have to learn from this. We don't uplift one another. We should be proud of the fact that our brothers, sisters were doing businesses and try to elevate them. They have, say for instance, in London School of Economics, they have a fund specifically for a certain people. We don't have that for Muslims, to allow those Muslims to become future leaders of a FTSE 100 company and whatnot, whereas they're giving them the opportunities. So I think, on a much broader, what keeps us waking up and going and continuing, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not an engineer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman, so I'm going to look at opportunities and see where I can monetize this. But at the same time, I have to work out, okay, so how much goodness have I done with that? What am I leaving behind? Because my ultimate goal is the hereafter. I know my time on earth is very limited, but it's that time that's going to count to where I'm going to be in the hereafter. So I'm very conscious of that. That it's a very short time I'm here for.
That's very, very uplifting and enlightening. You are very vocal about the whole Middle East, Palestine, Gaza situation, and obviously, as we've seen, they've arrested the aid deployment or the flotilla.
Yeah.
I was watching this podcast recently, and they were talking about the whole UAE involvement in so many different things behind the closed doors. Like I just feel like, who do we trust now? Like, we can't trust even our own people, countries, states, because somehow, and I don't want to get you into trouble by naming any specific countries because you've got business interests in different parts of the world. But you were very vocal about the Palestine situation, and obviously we should all feel strongly about it, as I do, and my brothers do as well. But you are like, you're not afraid of talking about it very publicly, because some people might say, oh, this is going to affect me personally, my business.
First of all, in terms of what's going on in those tables with the leaders of different nations, we can't really understand as laymen, because we're not in those rooms, and to understand like global geopolitics. From what we can see, obviously, and the world is now clearly seeing the harm that's being done here, and how the media is controlled, how they're trying to control influencers, how they're trying to restrict certain things. But I don't think anyone should be afraid to talk. I'm a very small guy. For me to talk and relay what I can see, what everyone else is seeing as well. And there's a lot of people who are bringing this subject to light and talking about it. But what can we do about it, going forward? We can see that this injustice that is going on right now how is it going to change? I think that we should ask ourselves, how did we get in this situation in the first place? How did we allow ourselves from where we were historically to where we are now? How did we get here?
How do we? How do we solve this situation? How do we come out of this situation? You say you're a small guy, but I don't think you are, mashallah. So tell us and our viewers, how do we now, even, it's not going to happen overnight, for sure. But what can we all do collectively and sustainably? Not just go and scream and shout for once and then forget all about it.
I think first of all is looking at why we're not united, Just look at our community. And there's loads of communities. But say our Bangladeshi community. Why are we so divided? If somebody's doing something, why not support them? Why are we constantly trying to bring that person down? Instead of supporting them, whatever, and if they're doing something that maybe not to your liking, instead of trying to outcast them, maybe give them advice, maybe help them, and you stay united and keep our money within our community. If we're going to buy it, we'll buy a company that's supplying us who does it. It's operating like this. This is the way that we need to research how they did it. Go back to how did they come from the dire situation that they were in to where they are now, and we can study them because they've clearly made it successful, and we need to do the same. I think that obviously the world is such a strange place. Sometimes you wake up and you think like 5 years ago you'd wake up and what's going on with children, what they're trying to teach them at school, you can do this and that, and you think like 5 years ago I'd probably think maybe I've drank something and that had some drugs in it or something.
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy.
It's so unpredictable, the world we're living in. There's too many happening at the same time, too many things happening at the same time. Do you think us, let's say broadly speaking, Muslims, are we doing enough to change our own course?
No, I don't think we're doing enough. Because I see that we're not united. No, we're quick to criticize one another. We're quick to
cancel each other.
Instead of supporting each other,
Yeah.
Where you can say, I'm proud of that, brother. I'm proud of what you're doing or what you're achieving. I hope, sincerely, I pray that Allah gives you 100 times more than whatever you dream for. At the same time, you understand that the angels are going to, pray for the same thing for you. To wish good to wish good on somebody else, to give them more. And, maybe Allah will bless you with the same. Or
No, honestly, like when you are happy for people, I've seen it in my own life, like, and I've always, alhamdulillah, I think fairly, like, there are a lot of people who I'm sure you've come across who are like super proud of you, and they genuinely care about your success, and they are so happy that you've made it happen. But equally, yes, there are some I know for sure who are just looking at you in a negative way.
Yeah.
So we have to be, obviously, what I'm trying to say is, there are good people out there still. There are equally bad people, and we should definitely support each other. But let's say we've supported each other, we've united. What do we do now? Like, okay, unity is going to take us so far.
I think it goes back to studying them, understanding that if it's war stance and they're clearly at war with us, then we have to study, research, and understand, along those lines. It's got to be done. Where have we not laid the foundations that we should have done and understood? Without saying, going into too much into details of this, but I think it's just understanding, researching them.
Personally, I think we have a vision problem. Like, we're not thinking big enough. MashaAllah, you've thought big, and inshallah, much more success to you, inshallah, coming your way. But not many people are doing what you're doing. Not many people are thinking big enough. How do we encourage people to think big and take those risks? Because ultimately, like you said, you know what? Once you ask Allah for help, the help does come. Once you wake up for that tahajjud, you don't need too many tahajjuds to see the results coming. Trust me, you do one, And almost like it's a fast track delivery of whatever result you've been asking for, whatever expectation that you've had. I think there's a vision problem. Mission can come later, but I think we don't have vision. We're not thinking big enough. We're not thinking far enough.
And I think platforms like this go out to showcase that, have the vision. Allah can give anything. And it's funny you mentioned, and it's really good that you mentioned Tahajjud. Now, recently, I've met a couple of people in Dubai, very successful in their businesses globally, and very good brothers. And one of them mentioned to me, I haven't missed Tahajjud for 10 years.
Subhanallah.
And their day revolves around the prayer, and making sure. And I find these messages like, Tahajjud is invitation only. It's the arrow that doesn't miss. So I'm trying to implement that into my life because that brother said that to me. And then I met somebody else who's telling me the similar sort of thing. So I'm thinking Allah's giving me a message that, stick to Tahajjud, whatever, that you want in your life or problems that you have. And we all have issues and problems and this going on in our lives. Allah tests everyone. We don't relate them, we don't show them. So we all got our own issues going on, but we're not reading Tahajjud. Some people's is financial, some people's is family issues, some people's is, we're told that this is the arrow that doesn't miss. So I found, for me personally, in the last, say, 3 months, these brothers suddenly telling me the importance of Tahajjud. And they're much larger business scale, etc., much busier than me. These guys are running operations, globally, Canada, America, Europe, everywhere. They have the time. I would, how about time? But I said, if these guys go find the time, who am I? So I'm trying to implement Tahajjud. And this is another part of the journey that I'm on in making sure that I'm not missing prayers. First of all, don't miss the prayers, and then make sure to implement Tahajjud in there. And then I think the vision, ask Allah to give you a vision. Ask Allah to open the opportunities. And they do, sometimes like people say, how did you find these locations? Honestly, I don't know how I found them. I just continued searching on the website and speaking to the agents that would show me places. Dubai, I've looked for 12 years, I couldn't find it, and the reason for going to Dubai wasn't even for business. My younger son is on the spectrum for autism. I went there to put him into a clinic. And then suddenly after putting him in there, after a couple of months, this agent who showed me many, many places which I've rejected, suddenly shows me a place that I like, that Allah just opens that door for me that way. So I was forced to go to Dubai. Allah pushed me because I took my son there. And at the same time, I find this. So it's like understanding the way that Allah's pushing you and whatnot. And
how much of it is thinking? How much of it is thinking positive? Because I know for sure, Allah sometimes, most of the time, Allah will push you towards a certain direction.
Yeah.
But then again, we somehow sometimes don't listen to the clues or the direction that Allah's trying to put us towards. Because I try to reason with this, like how much of it is my thinking, and that is pushing me towards a certain direction, and how much of it is, Allah pushing me, where is the balance, or is it completely and solely by Allah, what happens in your mind? And if that is the case, then why isn't everyone else, or why isn't there more people, being pushed in that direction?
So for instance, it's interesting understanding, okay, I find a place I really want to do it. If it ticks all the boxes, then I do Tahajjud and I get a negative dream or the feeling from it. It's being able to at that time say, okay, that's it. I can't proceed with that. I think, and that comes with wisdom and time and age and mistakes, and then you understand, okay, if I've asked for Allah's guidance on this aspect and I've got a feeling that I shouldn't, but something else, my mind is telling me, no, I really want this because, let's let it go. And I've done that where I've had to find a site, in good part of London, and it ticked all the boxes, but for some reason, alhamdulillah, it wasn't.
The heart wasn't talking. It wasn't talking to your heart. When you see a location, like, okay, it's good, everything is good, but something is just not right.
Yeah. I did Tahajjud and I had some signs, and otherwise it made sense in every other aspect, but
Mm.
It just didn't happen. It couldn't happen.
Have you read many books on thinking positive or like leadership, discipline?
Yeah. I love.
What other books?
I can't remember the names, but I over the years, I think some chap called Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence Other People, or like, what a simple book. A lot of it is Islamic principles. Like, what's in there is very much Islamic principles.
I read a lot of autobiographies.
Okay.
Biographies on people. Recently, I read this book on founder of Nike, on how he started, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
How
Are you more of a listener or a reader?
reader?
Reader.
Yeah.
So I'm the opposite. I'm more of a listener
Okay.
because reading just puts me to sleep. I don't know what's
True. Yeah.
So yeah, Dale Carnegie. If you guys haven't watched, read, or listened, then I would highly recommend Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
Another book that really, really transformed. So look, I think my society, my surrounding told me like, who are you to want to be successful? Who the hell are you? Who do you think you are? And then I come across this book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, I read that one.
Think and Grow Rich. Oh my God, like, it's a life changer. And I time to time go back to that book to realign myself with the principles. So Think and Grow Rich book is a game changer, and the whole goal setting, the idea of goal setting and writing them down. So if someone comes to me with a problem and I say, well, have you written the solutions or potential solutions down on a piece of paper? Or have you written your goals down? That no, well, write it down. Like, when you want it, how much you want, and by when. I mean, yeah. So for me, what really changed my circumstance, and obviously Allah has allowed it to happen, is Think and Grow Rich, Dale Carnegie, and few other books.
But like when we look at a lot of these very successful entrepreneurs, and they say the same thing, they read a lot. So we know that, and what type of books are they reading, and they tell you the books they read. Like the books that you mentioned. I found out about it because about Dale Carnegie. I think it was that famous investor,
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
So Warren Buffett, he said, is one of his favorite books. I thought, well, never need to pick that one up. And it was like that, like reading is such an important aspect. They read a few books a week. Unfortunately, I don't do that. I should do more. And you learn so much from it. You learn from people's, like, the doubts ones you have in yourself.
Yeah.
And they're people. They have the same doubts, same anxieties. It's just dealing with that level of pressure, level of anxiety, and thinking, no, I can go through this, because people have got through this.
There's no problem that hasn't been dealt with before. Like, my problem is not just unique. People have dealt with those problems, and
Exactly.
And yeah, it's only a matter of time until the solution comes. In my own journey, like, I've learned, like, by God, like when we were painting the aeroplane to the Firnas colors, I didn't know where the money was coming from until the very morning. Like, where is that 3-something K coming from? And then suddenly, I don't know how it all happens, but it has happened. So my recommendation to my brothers, sisters, anyone watching, just start, man. Just start, and then you'll see, like, this, everything will come together.
Yeah.
Someone gave an example, like when on motorway, when a guy is going so fast on the right-hand lane, like, everyone makes a way for this guy. So be that guy who's speeding along and, who wants to kind of progress in life.
Yes.
And then people will make ways. People will actually come to your aid.
I think in all aspects, the role of in work life, the role of a son, the role of a husband, as a father, as a brother, you have to concentrate on all of these roles.
Yeah.
And seeing how can I be a better person in each of those roles. Because sometimes, like, we concentrate on one and not the other, and think, I just have to concentrate on work, and then you forget all of these other roles that are so important in everything that you are. I think it's combining that, and success is contentment. Contentment, like, you could be very rich.
Yeah.
Some of the most unhappiest people I know are probably the richest. And then some of the content people are just happy with what Allah's given them. And maybe they understand that had Allah given us too much, we wouldn't be as content as we are, because it would be that constant.
Absolutely. It's such a constant battle, isn't it? Like, for particularly us Muslims, like, okay, with non-Muslims, okay, do you know what? This is it. Like, we're going to die and nothing's going to happen. Khalas, like, enjoy while you can. But with us Muslims, we've got akhirah to think about. We've got another life. I mean, this life is a test for us.
Yes.
So how do you then again, for me, it's a constant battle. When am I doing too much? Am I wanting too much? Or when do I say, or maybe I'm not doing enough? So
Tawakkul,
yeah, tawakkul, having that tawakkul is so super important.
Yeah.
Now, look, you've taken your car to Dubai. I find that very interesting. Did you bring it back with you? Your luggage?
No, it's still out there.
So how much does it cost to take your own car to another country?
I think what it would cost with everything was about 14,000. I mean, you get a car in it, which is like a car passport.
Okay.
That takes about 2 weeks. Then they book it on a flight. And then door-to-door service, like they come and deliver it to there. That was it.
So what happens? So you get the car and then you book. Who do you book the flight with for the car?
The agent books it.
Okay.
They're specialist agents that they deal with everything.
Okay.
So you say to them, they say, okay, first we'll get the car net and then we'll handle everything else.
So they'll come and collect it from your door.
Yeah.
And they'll deliver it to your Dubai door.
Yeah.
And say, here you go, Mr. What's your name?
Choudry.
Mr. Choudry.
Yeah.
Naz, is that your, is there a...
First time.
Is there... Nazmul, okay, Nazmul Choudry. Here you go, here's your car. And does the car get to the destination before you do, or does it come after?
I was already there when they were sorting it out here. So they said that, yeah, it's booked on for a flight. It arrives on this day. And then there they have to clear it. But it's a very quick, easy process.
So that's interesting because I always think I wish, because I know in Bangladesh they stopped this whole car net business because so many people were taking advantage of that car passport, and then they banned it completely.
Yeah.
I imagine driving your own car on your Sylhet roads. I think that would be quite fun.
It'll be amazing. I think, my father took cars from here to Bangladesh when they were allowed. And it's nice having that. But it's unfortunate that they stopped it. I don't understand, the taxes on the cars. So you've got loads of old cars, the pollution levels crazy. Why not allow people to be able to buy reasonably priced brand new cars, and then you will have less pollution?
So their mindset is completely different. Honestly, I don't know how the mindset works. In most of the other parts of the world, the car taxes are quite low. 15%? What's the tax in this car? I don't know. When I was buying and selling cars many years ago.
Yeah.
But Bangladesh is 400%, 500%, and I hope that changes, because then at least people can enjoy the bounties or the beauties of this world.
Yeah.
Because some people have the money, but they can't really afford a car because it's just too much.
Too expensive.
Nowadays, all these not Pajeros, the Land Cruiser, the big boy one, the one that looks so fat.
Yeah.
It's 1.6 Kuti Tekha or something, or
more.
Yeah.
Land Cruisers are more. It's just ridiculous.
So would you bring it back, your Naz plate?
Yeah, they have to, basically, I think it's 12 months. 12 months you can keep it out there for, and then you have to bring it back.
Okay, so the 14 crate you mentioned, is it return flight or just one?
No, just one way.
Ya Allah.
It's one way.
I'm sure you're enjoying your kind of. Do you get different looks with your number plate when you?
So this is the reason when I took it out. There was that our marketing team. They were like, because of the plate, let's bring it out. We can do content with it, and etc. etc. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken it out, because of that encouragement to take it out there, because I just thought it's just showcasing too much.
Yeah.
I'm not really into all of that, but I thought, okay, if it's going to highlight the business and whatnot, then let's do it. But yeah, there's positives. Obviously, in Dubai, no one knows you. I think if you're having other meetings, obviously you can, when you go to a business meeting, it just makes that they understand, okay, it's not, in Dubai you have a lot of people who love to talk and who are not who they are pretending to be. So I think that breaks that kind of...
You cut through the noise. You just cut, this man brought his own car with him from London with his number plate from England. Obviously that just doesn't happen miraculously. Someone had to go through the process, and I had to have the funds to also to be able to do it.
Alhamdulillah.
Now, obviously, mashallah, you've hosted some really, really influential people in your premises, and you one being the latest one being, I think, with the launch of your new Coco in Dubai, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. Yeah. Do you ever think okay, well, how does your marketing team, how do they reason with the idea, okay, that might bring us backlash at some point, or do you know what, even with the backlash, it's still okay.
You know, in Dubai, with what I've had really a lot of support from a brother. His name's Tam Khan. He is a good friend and a lovely brother. I've known for over 15 years. And going to Dubai and being there, we've got a lot closer. And he's helped me enormously in sending people in Dubai. Everyone in Dubai knows him. He has a gym called TKMA.
Yeah.
All the fighters, UFC and boxing. I'm training there. I see Sunday Anthony Joshua, Better Biov, and so on. So you just see just people just training there, and so he's the initial people that are coming there. Everyone's like, oh, Tam told us about this, and so alhamdulillah, then he said to me, oh, obviously he's very close with Andrew and Tristan Tate, and when they came back from America to Dubai, I'll try and bring them down. I said, yeah, sure, And we didn't look at the aspects of, because all of these allegations that are their charges that they've not been convicted for, they've been ongoing for a long time. And obviously we can see the media for what it is, and people are targeted for different things. And until they're proven guilty, I'm not judging anyone, because I find the whole thing a farce, that what you're led to believe and why the sudden attack. Now, I've seen these guys, these are like 6'4", 6'5" guys, training, and they've made a huge audience, and that audience is for some reason, America thought that influence is important enough to take them from Romania to America, and then they came to Dubai, and we were very fortunate enough that my brother Tam was able to bring them in, and I sat with them and chatted to them, and I'll reserve my anything to do with their cases and whatnot until and if which I don't think they're guilty of. Just understanding how they're utilizing them to adhere to. You kept on talking about the matrix and how this. I think maybe this whole agenda is in control in somehow with all of this.
What vibe did you get off them?
Nice guys.
Yeah.
Nice guys. Just obviously under a lot of stress. But at the same time, they find Dubai a place where they can rest and meet with some brothers. Obviously, Andrew became Muslim 3 years ago, just before all of this stuff happened in Dubai. And that was obviously a big thing. And our community suddenly thought he's not the whole community, but a lot of people within our community felt as soon as he'd become Muslim, he was the spokesperson for Islam. He's a revert.
Yeah.
He's just become a Muslim. So he still has all of the
learning that he needs to go through.
And just when he'd started, they put him in prison in Romania. So now alhamdulillah, he's back in Romania, and online he's facing a lot of backlash because of maybe some of the things that way he's living or people are judging and whatnot. Now many of us are born Muslims and we do many of those things. Yeah. But because there's a public light, as a revert, we should be much more careful because he reads these comments, and
does.
Of course, somebody is reading these comments, oh, you're so-and-so, you're doing this, you do. As a revert, these things can affect somebody.
Absolutely. It's difficult enough because we don't realize what we've got. Islam is a default for us. We never knew what it's like not having Islam. These people have come from something else to Islam, like a guest, almost like a guest at the moment.
Yeah.
So we should definitely do more to accommodate them and be kind to them. So why is it that we're kind to them before Islam, and then all of a sudden when they become Muslim, we're not kind to them anymore? Yeah. And I'm not saying that's all of us, some of us, and we should be very, very careful about our external image, because I think that's something that we Muslims should really, really take accountability of ourselves, on our behavior, on how we conduct ourselves. It's so important of what people see of us, and we need to control that narrative.
So when people saw that they'd come there and they were at the grand opening and whatnot, and that the visuals were being marketed with them being included, I would have comments from friends that I know, they said this and this, he said this and this about Islam, or this happened or that happened. I said, there's many things that without you knowing, and this is a revert brother. He's just come into Islam. There's a lot of learning, a lot of research. Would you prefer that you push him away out of Islam? Would that something that you prefer? You know, just understanding the challenges that this person is facing globally, what's happening to his own personal life, his own businesses, and at the same time, he's learning about Islam. He's talking from his understanding. It's not like he's got sheikhs advising him all the time, whatnot, but he's learning. So we should be there to support that. Like I said, instead of people who are coming to me and saying, why would you have somebody like this in the restaurant?
No, that's so true. Now, I want to end this episode with one question that I can't really find answer to. It's a very famous restaurant that popped up, I guess, in the last 5 years. I think you know which one I'm alluding to. It's a very social media restaurant, but at the same time, it also went down very quickly. It's I don't want to get done by someone for defamation or something. How does a restaurant go up and down quickly? It's such a big social media sensation all of a sudden, and then suddenly it's actually on its decline.
I'm not sure which restaurant you're talking about. Eh? Oh, okay. I think, well, sometimes if you look at how the pricing of certain things and understand, if you get too big or arrogant, understand arrogance is something that as soon as that comes into you and that you think you are, like people think that this is a one-man bandit, or something. No, but as the whole team. Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed with an amazing team of people that Allah's put me in contact with. And my brother, Numan, who's with me, all of these aspects creates, Coco. But if arrogance was to creep in and to think that I'm done this or we've done this and we don't understand that Allah's opened the doors and the opportunities for this to happen, that's when, you're in a dangerous place.
So you would say you would put it down to arrogance, just when people do, that phrase when they say self-made. I have a problem with that phrase. Like there is no one is self-made. How are you self-made? How could you have made millions and billions by being self-made? No way, you're not. Someone had to assist you along the way. I mean, so many people, thousands of people.
Absolutely. And appreciating that.
Yeah.
And appreciating that all of these things and all of these people and the journey and the lessons and understanding where you've come from, like the family, friends, the companions, the challenges, all of this stuff has amalgamated into what you're now, and Allah's giving you the opportunity to give out. I think, a lot of people, I think is, I did this and I've done this. First thing is you thank Allah. It's the first thing, for everything. And as soon as you understand that, then Allah will bless you and Allah will guide you, Allah will protect you. People may come to attack you, from all angles. And it's understanding that if I'm protected by Allah, you can do whatever you want to do, but I'm good.
Absolutely. And I think also if I can echo that and add, when you're sincere with something, nothing is going to come in, Allah's on your side. You're sincere, you've done nobody wrong.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong? How can someone do wrong to you if you were sincere in your action?
Exactly. If you're firm on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're firm on that and you understand that, again, relate back to what's going on, say in Gaza, what's the injustice that's going on. We know that there's no wrong there, but it's happening. But we know where they're going, what we're told of the martyrs. And is the test upon them or is the test upon us? Because we're the bystanders watching.
It's painful. It's painful just watching. Sometimes I find it so difficult to just watch. It's that feeling of not being able to do something, and it just angers you so much.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just say I'm not going to watch it because it's just going to make me so angry. And then ultimately you don't want to turn into an extremist or a violent person or something. I don't think I will become one, but it really even Piers Morgan shows, I know he's changing his narratives and all of that stuff. And, he seems like a good guy all of a sudden. But trust me, ultimately, these guys, may Allah guide him. If Allah guides him and brings him to Islam, then Islam will be strong. Inshallah, Andrew Tate and the likes. And, but right now, like, they're just playing this game, mind game, like one after they switch from one side to another side, like so quickly.
Making
It
us
really
numb.
angers me.
They're making us numb to watching this.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't want to watch it. And I'm the same. Sometimes I just want to quickly scroll. I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, it hurts. It's
Yeah.
painful.
So, but
Painful.
is that what they want? Is that what they want? That, that you become numb and so used to watching this that it's just so normalized that you think, well, what can I do anyway as an individual? And then, but you have to ask, is this the reason why they want us to become numb, that we just, to watching children burn and die, and then the world watches this and is normalized to watch this?
Allahu Akbar. We Muslims, Asians, ethnic communities, we've got so much to do, so much work to do. We need to get to work, man. Like, whether it's building businesses and making an impact, not just talk about it, not just like, just talk about it and forget about it. I want people to do stuff, like, really start building businesses, like, because that's one way at least you can have a sustainable impact. Even with the zakat that we would accumulate, it will go towards a certain cause. So I think we've got mad talents, so much talents in our community, in our society.
Yeah.
But we're not taking those risks. How can we tell people, like, take those risks, and inshallah Allah will find your way?
I think like what you just said about that, we have so much work to do. And when some people say, like, why are you constantly working? Like, why is, are you not going to rest? And I think, like, do we really have time to rest? Look at the state of us. We are laughing stock. How do we put even our heads up in this world? It's disgusting, it's shameful. There is no time to rest. There's no time for rest.
Yeah, I've got something else. May sound very controversial, but I say, look, I can rest when I'm dead, man. Like, but right now, like, we need to use as many hours, towards productivity. Like, no, it doesn't. Working doesn't mean work. It doesn't mean productivity. Panicking doesn't mean productivity.
Right.
Like, something meaningful, something that will, benefit others.
Yeah.
So there's so much that we can talk about and so much we can rant about. But we are towards the end of our episode. Let's end with a quick fire, inshallah. But before I do that, I haven't asked my favorite question that I ask all my guests. Apart from Akhirah and Hellfire, what's your greatest fear in this world?
That I lose faith. Iman. To lose Iman would be the ultimate loss.
Indian curry or Lebanese?
Indian curry. Please. Mom's curry.
Mom's curry has to be mom's curry. No matter how much you like, Android or Apple?
Apple.
Apple. Why Apple?
It's the only one. I mean, I just find it a lot easier to use. I'm very non-technical.
Well, obviously, I think I know the answer to that. And next one, Bentley or Rolls?
Rolls.
Rolls. Lamborghini or Ferrari?
Lamborghini.
I would have thought it was a Ferrari.
It'd be a difficult one, but yeah. I think Lamborghini of now with some of the cars that are coming out again.
Countryside or city?
Countries.
Riyadh or Dubai?
Why?
Why? Like, I feel like Dubai has become so like artificial now, like something now. Like you don't feel at peace.
When you live there, when you go on holiday is one thing, but when you actually live there and you have a community and friends and your day-to-day, then you start thinking about day-to-day, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, we're going to play football, do some work, and discuss business and this and this.
If I was looking for a perfume shop site in Dubai, where should I look? Which area should I be based in?
Malls.
Malls? Apart from malls, let's say like you want to make a nice boutique, like something like what you've done with Coco, like something standalone, but also you add your own touch to it.
I would say probably JBR. Everyone goes there all around the world. They'll see the brand. And I've seen a few perfume brands along that strip. I think Sunnah Musk would be a fantastic add-on to that one.
Inshallah. If there's anyone out there watching and who's interested in Sunnah Musk, I suppose partnership in Middle East, GCC, then we might be interested in talking for sure, because that's something that we've stayed away from purely because of the competition. But now I think it's time to roll out, because we've got the fundamentals in place.
Yeah, because coming from London, Sunnah Musk London, to place it there, I think it'd be a good step for Sunnah Musk.
Amazing. Naz bhai, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and once again, really I thank you for accepting our invitation because I haven't seen you on any podcast before, and I think this is the first. And we're blessed, and we're fortunate that it's your first, and I hope people will see it in a positive way because this show is not really about making some drama and some gossips.
Yeah.
Like everything that we've spoken about, we've been throughout our conversation. Like it may not be as structured, but that's the whole idea. Like you get nuggets along the conversation. And I think we've dropped a good few nuggets today.
No, alhamdulillah, I think it's again, it's an honor to come down, and I love the flow of the conversation. It wasn't, and the non-structure of it, and just being open and just talking about, just in our minds. And we all come to similar backgrounds and similar, communities and work ethics and the hardships and whatnot, and what we're trying to build. And if we can help other people also build with some of the experiences, and we can do some further things, and it was amazing.
No, absolutely, because some people think, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. Like, if you go on a boxing match, like straight in, like I did ask you a few questions that you probably could do without, but I can't just go in and say, you know what, why do you do this? Why do you do that? So, yeah, with some guests you have to if it's a political candidate or someone who's ready to take a few punches, then it's nice to have those conversations. But generally, look, one purpose through this podcast, I want people to feel uplifted, and I want them to do something. I want them to go away and start doing something, not just talk about it, just do something. Even if it's putting 5K, 10K towards a business that you're going to work on. Okay, maybe don't trust too many people with your investment in the early stages because you don't know where that money is going back. Something that you can play with, something that you can work with.
Yeah.
And that's my purpose through this podcast. I want to uplift people. I want to inspire people, and through stories like yours, I didn't know you've made so many losses. I'm like, mashallah, this brother is so polished and so looks so glamorous and polished from outside, but inside it's like there's pieces, it's a construction site in your mind.
Complete construction site, I think, and everyone has to understand that and see that that it's not all hunky-dory. There's loads of ups and downs, and that's just on the business side, and then there's loads of ups and downs in your personal life, and then when you add all the elements together, but you've got to fight through it. You just have to fight through all of these things and tests and tribulations.
Definitely, and inshallah, we'll sleep when we die. But for now, we've got work to do. As Muslims, we've got more work to do. And Muslims in the UK, we've got too much work to do. We cannot be sleeping. We cannot be taking a chill pill on a weekend. We need to be working.
I think that's the reason why I went to Dubai. I just thought that, once upon a time, Great Britain was open for business. I just feel that like when that generation came over here, they were open and they succeeded so much. Had businesses, were buying things in cash, invested in Bangladesh, in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world. Could we do that now? Only a few can. Whereas before you had up and down the countries, every city, town, you had families who were thriving, who were doing this, But now those opportunities are no longer there. So we have to, and I thought, am I going to stay in my comfort zone and just basically just stay here, or am I going to take a bit of a risk and go over there and see if I can make something out of it? Because I just feel the opportunities are not.
What you've done is very scary, by the way, because Dubai is known for fine dining and quality, polished everything, and Coast House is an addition, and then you're not competing with established local players, and I was thinking, wow, how's it going to work? How is it going to play out? But alhamdulillah, I think with your approach, I can't wait to go and see, inshallah. No, Abid went down in his story while he was a big lodge. Yeah, but I can't wait to, inshallah, come down and see it.
Yes,
Naz bhai, thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that's it for today on Side by Side. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and found it thought-provoking and insightful. If you have enjoyed any part of this conversation, please do clip it. Feel free to share it around with friends and family, and hit that subscribe button on the platform you are tuned into, particularly YouTube. And with that said, let's reunite on our next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.